Trump news. Two cities witness a turning point in Trump state prosecutions on the same day. On Thursday, two cases that could challenge Donald Trump's ability to evade indictments and potentially overturn convictions should he run for office again face crucial hearings that could affect the 2024 election. A procedural hearing is scheduled for Trump to attend in New York before his trial about a hush money payment he made to an adult film star prior to the 2016 election, which is the most recent shocking development in his long list of legal woes. It may be the first time a jury decides the fate of an ex-president and possible presidential candidate in a criminal prosecution. Trump wants the case dismissed, but a judge might announce Thursday that it will go ahead at the end of March. Even as Trump is in New York court, he will be in the middle of another drama in Georgia, where a judge is trying to dismiss a massive racketeering case against Trump and associates over their efforts to undermine President Joe Biden's 2020 election victory in the swing state and to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Willis could face disqualification if she had a financial relationship with a colleague she nominated to prosecute the case, according to Judge Scott McAfee. A consistent thread running through Trump's court filings is an effort to postpone responsibility, at least until the next election, and to stop the charges from proceeding to trial. Even with a supportive attorney general, Trump would still have a hard time interfering with ongoing prosecutions, overturning convictions, or even pardoning himself because executive power does not extend to state crimes. Thus, he has a vested interest in resolving the hush money and election interference cases in New York and Georgia. Nearly 900 miles separate the high-stakes hearings, which highlight the unusual connection of the 2024 race with Trump's legal mess, which has now extended beyond several presidential campaigns. This is the second time this week that the ex-president's legal woes have played out in two different cities. Thursday will be the third. For example, on Monday, Trump was in Fort Pierce, Florida, for a hearing regarding his indictment regarding the retention of classified documents. On the same day, his attorneys filed a document with the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., based on his extensive requests for absolute presidential immunity to protect him from any consequences arising from his actions following the 2020 election. The former president delivered a passionate address in South Carolina on Wednesday night, just before the state's primary later this month, before making his way to New York, highlighting his ongoing dual role in the courtroom and the campaign trial. "This is what they've done. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election intervention," he declared. "Behold, I am facing indictment because of you. Remember this," Trump spoke to his audience. "I couldn't be happier to be involved." Special counsel Jack Smith argued that the public interest in having Trump tried was paramount, and he sent his response to Trump's immunity claims to the Supreme Court shortly before Trump spoke. However, in light of the accused allegations of political persecution, Smith failed to mention the dwindling time before the November election. Another New York judge is set to decide on Friday whether or not Trump, his adult sons, and the Trump Organization will be ordered to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in damages for ill-gotten gains that were revealed in a civil fraud trial. The decision has the potential to strip Trump of his ability to do business in New York, the city that gave him his fame, despite the fact that Trump's legal woes will further exacerbate the country's political rift and undermine faith in electoral and judicial institutions. The current election is almost assuredly going to sow polarizing, long-term consequences due to the increasingly intense legal and political collision. Here he is, back in the place that made him famous, Trump, his scorn for the legal system and his framing of the prosecutions he faces as political persecution will be prominent themes of his 2024 election campaign, and the former president is making it a habit to appear in court and stage histrionics to communicate this. A number of judges have grown increasingly enraged as they try to contain him because his presence could disrupt any otherwise civil legal proceeding. Still pending before New York Judge Juan Merchan are applications from both sides, including one from Trump's legal team seeking dismissal of the charges and another asking to affirm the trial's current start date of March 25. 34 charges against Trump relate to the falsification of company documents. They say he did it to hide payments he made to adult film star Stormy Daniels, who he wanted to keep quiet about an alleged romance she had with him so she wouldn't influence voters. Like all four of his criminal indictments, the ex-president has pled not guilty in this instance, denying the affair. Even if found guilty, the ex-president is not likely to receive a prison sentence, according to some legal experts who rank the New York case as the least serious of the four criminal charges against him. But there are those who believe that Trump's efforts to mislead voters and meddle in U.S. elections began with the 2016 case. The New York case may continue to have significant political ramifications despite being the anticipated first criminal trial. From what we can see from polls and the early outcomes of Republican primary elections, Trump's indictments have rallied the party's grassroots supporters behind his campaign. As of yet, however, it is unclear how Trump's legal troubles will affect a broader electorate. If he has a criminal record by Election Day, some people may think twice about voting for him, according to other polls conducted recently. In addition to Trump's racketeering trial, a major incident will unfold in Georgia. Willis is allegedly in a love connection with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, whom she hired, and McAfee is currently conducting an evidentiary hearing in Georgia to investigate these claims. According to McAfee, the issues at point here are whether a connection existed, whether that relationship was romantic or non-romantic in nature when it originated, and if it persists. March 19, 2019. And the reason it's important is that it raises the question of whether or not their relationship has any advantage and, if so, to what degree. Willis and Wade reaped substantial benefits from the litigation while taxpayers bore the brunt of the financial burden, according to Michael Roman, one of Trump's co-defendants, who also asserts a substantial conflict of interest. To back up his claim that he treated Willis to expensive vacations after she hired him, he is referring to financial documents from Wade's divorce proceedings. Since the case has cast doubt on the justice system's impartiality and tarnished the prosecution with the drama, Roman is demanding both Willis's firing and the case's dismissal altogether. However, the district attorney's attorney is claiming that Roman is attempting to derail the case's focus. According to attorney Anna Cross, the defense is delivering you gossip rather than facts, laws, or evidence. The court ought to not approve of that method. A coalition of law academics, former prosecutors, and legal specialists submitted an amicus brief with the court arguing that they do not necessitate disqualification here, regardless of how genuine the accusations against Willis may be. To be sure, they are far from adequate. According to Willis, racial bias is at the root of the charges. Why is it that some people will always find something to criticize when a black man succeeds? While speaking at Atlanta's Big Bethel AME Church last month, Willis made passing mention of Wade without mentioning him by name. The claims against Willis would not be destructive to the massive racketeering case against Trump and his fellow defendants, according to Michael Moore, a former U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Georgia, who spoke on CNN this morning in January. However, a change in the prosecutor might significantly lengthen the proceedings, which would help Trump achieve some of his objectives. According to CNN, Trump first expressed a preference for Thursday's hearing in Georgia over the one in New York. However, he then changed his mind, reasoning that it would be more appropriate for him to attend the latter hearing because it directly related to his personal situation. The judge in New York decides against Trump's request to dismiss. The former president will almost certainly assert that he is a political victim. And if the Georgia court doesn't throw out the charges against her, Willis will certainly try to spin the accusations against her as evidence of corruption and a corruption of the legal system. As Trump continues to portray himself as a victim of witch hunts, this has far-reaching consequences beyond just bolstering his electoral appeal. It aids his efforts to establish a public narrative that any future convictions he faces will be unfair in the long run.